Okay, today I've got something on the bench that you won't see on my bench very often. This is a flat panel high definition television. It is a Sharp 32-inch LCD TV. It is model number LC32D43U. And I can't see a date that it was manufactured, but I think it's only a couple of years old. Interesting to note, it was designed by Sharp in Japan and assembled in Mexico by Sharp, not China, which is kind of interesting because almost everything is made in China. The reason I have this on my bench is that friends and family who know that I fool with vintage electronics and whatnot occasionally have these flat panels go bad, and they'll come and ask me if I'll take a look. And for friends and family, I'm usually like, sure, I'll take a look at it. I'm by no means an expert in flat panel TVs. I do know how they somewhat work, and then I also know that electronic components are electronic components, and if you can test electronic components on a lot of these, you can figure out what's wrong with it, and especially if it's just a power supply problem. You usually can figure out what's wrong with it. There's a lot of other issues with these sets that I'm certainly not able to take care of on the component level anyway, just because the parts are so small. I don't have the equipment or the ability to service it. But if it's a power supply problem, I usually can take a look at it. And this TV's in today because it's a power supply issue. The symptom is it's just totally dead. So in that case, it kind of triggers in my mind that the 5-volt standby power is not working, which is a power supply issue. And so I agreed to take a look at this set and see if I could fix it. So I have done troubleshooting on this already. Here's the switch mode power supply that's in this set. Over here would be, underneath this panel would be the main board. And then here is the inverter for the screen and the inverter board under here. So you'll notice I haven't even messed with those. When you get something like that, or what I've seen in my limited experience, when there's no 5-volt power standby power, and you can test those here on the board with your multimeter, it's generally one of the FET transistors is shorted, or there's some diodes in that circuit and they can go bad. So in this particular power supply, I went through and I tested all the FET transistors. I also tested that bridge rectifier. They're all in this particular power supply butted up next to these heat sinks. But what you're looking at there is the bridge rectifier and then some field effect transistors that are on the hot side and the rectification side, and then over here is where our 5-volt standby power is coming from. And so what I found was there's a diode that goes right across here, and I have the part actually. This is the actual diode, and it's shorted out. So I ordered up some new diodes from DigiKey. These are where I got these. It's a Zener diode, 150 volt 5 watt diode right here and see if that takes care of the problem. Okay, so here we go. We've got the new diode installed right here, and now what we have to do is get this soldered in right here and right there. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. Get that soldered in. And see if we can get that, this will fix the problem. Okay, it's one lug. And two. Okay. And go ahead and clip the excess lead off. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to do is take a little lacquer thinner. You can use acetone or whatever you want to use, but I always like to just make sure I don't leave any flux left over on that board, and that those connections are nice and clean. And so there we go. All nice and connected right there. And there's the new diode. So pretty simple. If that's in fact the only problem on this board, we'll reinstall it and see what happens. Okay, now we're going to reinstall the board into place. It has three little clips on the bottom, and then it just kind of lays right down in there like that. And we have assortment of screws we need to screw in. And then three wiring harnesses to attach, and that's all there is to it. Now, one thing about these TVs, I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about these types of sets, that they're throwaway sets. They're not built as well as they used to be, and that's all true. And the one thing I didn't mention about this is all these boards, this power supply, the main board, they all have numbers on them, and I'll show you where those numbers are. And you can do a search on eBay and various electronic supply places that carry these types of boards, and it is possible to just change this entire board if you can't find out what's wrong with it. And I've seen people do that to repair a TV, but for the most part, people just dispose of these types of TVs and buy a new one. So I hate to see that. It fills up the landfill, but it is hard to beat high definition TV in today's world. And the big difference I see in these types of sets versus the older vintage sets that I like to work on is that in a vintage set, parts can start drifting out of tolerance. They can actually even go bad. And you know, the set will still function. Now, it may not function correctly. You know, you might not have horizontal hold or vertical lock or something like that. But the set will still function. Now, with these TVs, if a part goes bad, you know, it knows to shut itself off. But one of the other advantages is, first of all, you've got high definition. You generally don't have to adjust color on it. You never see, you know, rolling vertical or, you know, horizontal problems that we used to have back in the day. Or if you're on cable, you know, you get a brilliant crystal clear picture. So there are some advantages to that, to these sets from that regard. And then the last thing I'm going to put back on is the bracket that attaches to the chassis. And this is the bracket that actually would be used if you mounted this set to the wall. Actually is mounted into the actual chassis that holds the whole TV to the wall. But I could not get to that power supply without removing this. Okay. Give a little power to it. See what we get. Okay. Okay, here's the back of the TV with the power supply reinstalled, the diode replaced, and we now have standby power, as you can see from that light, and we've got a raster. So looks like our TV is fixed. And 54-cent diode in the power supply on the standby kept this one from going into the landfill and my father-in-law having to buy another TV. So there you go. Thanks for watching.